Good morning, students. Today we are discussing about basic geotechnical engineering 18Cv54 for 5th semester students under module 1 of introduction lecture series 8. We are discussing about field identification test on soil and Bureau of Indian Soil Classification IS 1498-1970 guidelines. So IS 1498-1970 redefined at 1987 first division classification identification of soil for general engineering purpose. So according to it, the soil classification as clayey soil, any aggregate of microscopic and submicroscopic particles derived from a chemical decomposition and disintegration of rock constituents, and it is a plastic with in the moderate to wide range of water content, is called as a clay. And silt means any fine grained soil with a little or no plasticity behavior, then it is called as a silt. Then sand and gravel means cohesionless aggregates of angular, subangular, rounded, flaky or flat aggregate of less unaltered rock mass with varying from 80 mm to 4.75 mm. We are calling it as a gravel. 4.75 mm to 0.075 mm, calling it as a sand. And the silt, that is the 0.075 mm down size. So we are calling it as the silt and clay size fraction. By eye observation, soil containing more than 50% visible particles, then we are calling it as a coarse grain. If more less than 50% particles are not visible, then we are calling it as a fine grain. So sand means 75 micron to 4.75 mm size. Gravel means above 4.75 mm, less than 80 mm. Next, the soil is called silt or clay size. The soil less than 75 micron, we are calling it as silt or clay size fractions. So now, identification test for coarse grain soil is, if a soil is clean gravel, then classification is either as well graded gravel. If there is no good representation of all graded particles, then we call poorly graded, as I explained in the classification of soil by gradation curve, when we call it as a poorly graded. So if a soil is dirty gravel, then classification is silty gravel GM. If it is a clean, then it is called as a clayey gravel. If a fines are low to medium or high plasticity, then then we are calling it as a soil is clean, then sandy soil. If it is a well graded sand, SW, and poorly graded sand, it is SP. If it is soil is dirty, sandy soil, silt sand, and clay sand of C. Boundary classification of coarse grain soil. When a soil possesses characteristics of both ground and either in particle size distribution or in plasticity chart, is designated by a combination of group symbol. A well graded, for example, I wanted to say a ground graded or a grain soil with a clay binder is designated as GW and GC. Next is some of the tests we are conducting on fine grain soil. There is a dilatancy test, that is reacting to shaking. Take a 5 cm cube of soil fat and add water to it and saturate it and place it on a platform of the hand and shake it in a horizontal direction. Observe the appearance and disappearance of water on the shaking ground. If it is there is appearance and disappearance, then the dilatancy is high. Toughness, consistency near plastic limit. 5 cm cube of soil fat is prepared in a dry state and put roll between the palm of 3 mm diameter thread. If it is crumbling at 3 mm diameter, you can say that it is at a plastic limit state. Dry strength, crushing resistance, we have to determine it. A completely dry 5 cm fat, and you prepare it and measure its resistance to crumbling and powdering between the fingers, and resistance to crumbling you identify. If it shows any sign of resistance against crumbling, you call it as it is a high strength. Next, organic content and odor. Fresh wet organic soil have a decomposed organic matter, fibrous texture will be there. Very high organic soil identified by color, spongious and fibrous in texture. Acid test soil plus dilute HCl, you add it, and the strong reaction indicates high dry strength due to presence of calcium carbonate. And shine test, a cutting of a clay lump of a dry or slightly moist soil with a knife cut surface indicates shiny, indicates highly plastic clay. Miscellaneous tests like wet clay strikes to the finger and dries slowly, but silt dries fairly quickly and can be dusted off the fingers, leaving any strain on it. That is an indication that it is a silt. So we are uploaded MCQ questions related to today's topic. You please go through it, and if you have any doubt, you can ask always. Thank you for attending the class.